I joined the military back in 1991. I actually joined the Navy. I was in the Navy for 3 years, got out, got my college degree and got commissioned in the Air Force back in 1997. Since then, was in the Air Force until 2018 when I retired. Probably the latter half of my career, I got interested in competition shooting. Just some buddies were doing it and it just looked like something really cool. I got disqualified from a competition. In that competition, basically, I think I was on the 3rd or 4th stage. I think there was 8 stages total. It was a 3-gun competition. So I'm rocking the AR, nailing the targets, feeling like I'm the next Daniel Horner. So I dumped the rifle in the barrel, and then I began to move on with my pistol and just started drilling. And I think it was like 2 or 3 shots into it, I hear the range safety officer yell, "Stop." I realized, oh crap, I might have left the safety switch in the fire position. And he said, "Yep, you sure did." In that competition, if you have the safety in the wrong position, you're basically disqualified, and quite frankly, for good reason. So we went up to the AR where I dumped it, and sure enough, there's a round in the chamber and the weapon's on fire. So that was it. My competition was done for the day. And I'm going, man, this is just, it's so hard to practice just in your garage, dry fire train with the safety switch, because the safety locks when you pull the trigger. And so there's got to be a better way to do it. Well, the first way I came up with was I took my competition rifle and I bought a whole nother lower that's exactly the same as my competition rifle, and then I just removed the hammer. And so now I can manipulate the controls, I could use dummy rounds, I could do all of that stuff and manipulate the safety. And then I could actually practice in my garage. And so I practiced and practiced and practiced. Over the years, I'm thinking there's got to be a better way to do this where you don't have to have like another half a gun to swap back and forth and all that. And so this was after I retired. You know, one day I was just kind of in the morning, just going through my morning routine, and I just thought, holy cow, if I just do this and this. At the time, I was wanting to get into 3D printing and all that kind of stuff, so I thought, well, this is actually a pretty good project. Maybe I'll just try and see if I can make this little doodad out of the 3D printer, and in that process, I'll learn 3D printing, I'll learn 3D software, and we'll see how it goes. I also, along with the 3D printing process and the 3D software process, I also learned the production prototyping process. And basically what I learned is I just needed to do one step in the process, and that step was to marry an aerospace engineer.
Being a military spouse, I kind of had to master the art of the pivot. Every time Alex moved to another duty station, it was pack up and try to find a new career slot to fit into. So I started out flight testing Army helicopters as a baby engineer and absolutely loved it. One of my favorite days in the world was hanging out of a modified Huey with a modified engine and taking pictures of rocket launches off of an Apache. But that background of moving to different positions and doing different things, throughout my career, I was either civil service or I was a civilian contractor. And I did flight tests for the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, Special Operations Forces. Doing test and evaluation is one of the things that's near and dear to my heart, because as either a civilian or a contractor, part of my job was making sure that those things that the folks on the tip of the spear were using operationally were gonna work for them. I wanted to make sure that system in a test was working as advertised, because I don't want people going out on the front line with a piece of equipment that's not going to work the way they need it to work. Strangely enough, ended up doing fun projects like the RedCat, which is completely out of what I thought I was ever going to be doing. Alex invented the RedCat, and while he was going through that invention process, I was still working as an engineer and a program manager for a corporate company. And while I was doing a lot of that stuff, I would come home and he's tinkering with the RedCat. And he'd say, hey, I found this, and this is how this works. And I would say, okay, well you're prototyping. Now with that prototype, you've figured out that this piece doesn't work, and you've got to update and modify that. Now you need to track all the stuff you're doing and why you're doing that, so that you can prove what works, what doesn't, what you need to go back and modify, and why, and have all that stuff documented. If we were to just kind of willy-nilly just keep putting things together and popping them in rifles to see if they work without having a documented process or without following any engineering rigor, I don't know that I would have felt confident putting something like that out there to the public.